How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the podcast. Over here driving to pick up some goats I bought. Um, but I thought it'd be a great time to talk about um, a topic that uh, is fresh in my mind, which is cactus farming in Italy and Europe as a whole, and maybe some implications for global cactus farming. So I was reading this article, real interesting article. Um, I'll send it to you if you want it, but it's a article out of Realtors called "Cactus Pear is a Crop with Potential in Italy's Parched, Arid, or South Arid and Beyond." Right? So it's an interesting article, and it brought to me a lot of opinions in my head that got me thinking about a lot of stuff. So I thought it'd be great for a podcast to kind of talk about a little bit about the article and talk a little bit about how I believe cactus farming will, you know, hopefully pan out in Italy and Europe. So, to begin here, the the Italian country, already has naturalized opuntia, as well as a lot of European states in that Mediterranean range. I know Spain, Portugal, Greece, and a lot of those Mediterranean states like Italy. I forget the ones close by right now, but it's in lots of European states naturalized already, and it's something that various opuntia species that people have brought in, just collectors for their garden, and now it's all over people's gardens and the hillsides and the coast and all over the place, right? So it's an interesting thing because not like the U.S. and Mexico, they aren't native there, but there's lots of different opuntias already available there. So it's not like they need to import a bunch of different types. They are already available within collectors and gardens' hands, much like the agaves of Mexico are within collectors' hands of Californians. You know, because a lot of people always tell me, "Oh, well, we got to stop, the Mexican import or the Mexican exportation of agave genetics to California." And I'm like, you're 150 years too late, 100 years too late, in some cases 50 years too late. It's like the majority of those genetics are already here, and then California and America has created thousands and thousands of new genetics, right? So, kind of sidetracked there, but yeah, Italy has a lot of opuntias, right? So, this article talks about how Italy's going through, climate change. They have drought, they have less consistent rainfall. The earth is changing. That's why I really like that book, Earth, with like two A's. I think if I remember correctly by Bill McKibben. But the whole point of that book is we don't live on the same planet anymore as our grandparents, and a lot of the ways of agriculture that worked before, monoculture or polyculture, aren't going to continue working in this new climate and you know area, right? So what's going on in Italy in particular, and um, is there's a lot of disease with the olive trees in Italy, and these olive trees essentially have a disease called xylella. Xylella is a really bad disease that has been decimating fucking Italy. So I know they've lost like hundreds of thousands of acres. I don't know if it's in the millions yet, but it's probably close to it. And in this one region that they're talking about in this article, it's called Puglia, which is a traditionally olive oil growing region, right? So they talk about how they've lost 100,000 hectares of olive oil production in this region because they got xylella and all died. Um, Well, haha, monoculture. Always back to the monoculture there, you know? Like bananas and like all these monoculture systems, they're failing. They're just they're going to shit, you know? My bad, I dropped my phone while we were driving. But they're failing. And I think that I think that the monoculture system is like failing because nature is saying, you guys fucked this up. Go back to the drawing board, figure it out again, right? Like if they would have had a polyculture of olive trees mixed with different shrubs and other types of stuff that like grapes and other stuff that they were farming like the old Italians, this probably wouldn't have happened, right? Like it didn't happen to the Romans. It didn't happen to a lot of these other guys. They had varieties, a bunch of them. You know what I mean? Lots of different stuff growing in the same area or the same farm. That's the shit we've lost, you know, in Italy and lots of places around the world. So I think, you know, essentially like monocultures are just going to continue to fail. But let me get back to this point. So the article was talking about this region, right, Puglia, and this one guy, Andrea Ortenzi, I think is his name if I remember correctly. Yeah. And then this guy started a company named Wakanda, which is, to be honest, to be really fucking hilarious because it's like black culture, you know, like the whole like Black Panther Wakanda movie. But it's like this guy's Italian. Hilarious, man. But anyways, it's real interesting because he started this company in Italy a couple years ago, I think 3 years ago, and he's growing prickly pears and creating biofuels out of it. A lot of this has actually been proven in Brazil and Mexico already that you can make biofuels out of it. Lots of people are exploring it. You know what I mean? But it's interesting to me that it's in Italy now, right? That's why I wanted to do this podcast. And I wanted to also talk about a lot of the things I disagree with maybe the way that they're pursuing cactus farming, right? Because they want to make cactus farmers, or they want to promote cactus farming in Italy, right? To replace all these olive oil groves that have gone to shit. And it's like, I understand it. You have a loss of economic potential. All these farmers are going bankrupt. I'm sure there's lots of of them going through suicide and all types of health problems because losing your farm is not an easy thing, right? So to lose 100,000 hectares, which is like 250,000 acres, that's so many farms going out of business, you know what I mean? And then, it's like they want to replace a lot of these regions with cactus, right? But if they replace it with a monoculture of opuntia ficus indica, like this guy has planned, or this company Wakanda, it's going to go to shit. And you don't need to look any further than the present day Tunisia. They're losing 10 to 30% of their production every year to plague. And you know what I mean? In Mexico, there's tons of plague because they have monocultures, and in Brazil as well. And Opuntia ficus indica is the most widely grown cactus in the world, and because of that, it's also the least taken care of. It's the most plagued. It's like got a lot of issues, right? So my recommendation for Italy and Europe as a whole, any other country around the world, is to import or use dozens, if not hundreds, of different opuntia and cactus varieties, right? Why not use some Cereuses, like some Peruvian apple cacti, and produce fruit? Why not use some Cylindropuntias, like the natives here, Cylindropuntia and Bricanto spinosaur? That shit produces some pretty good fruit that I use for jams. It's like use the Pontificanta in Italy. That shit would grow just off, the rain because it grows here off 2 to 6 inches of rain. The same with the Spinosaur I just mentioned in the Cylindra puntia. Use some naturalized Opuntia littoralis. That shit can grow off just 5, 6 inches of rain. In Italy, it prospers super hard. Use the Texas prickly pear, another one that gives really great pears and also makes really great fodder for cattle or sheep or goats, right? Why limit it to opuntia ficus indica? This is one thing I do not understand. It's so stupid. Around the world, they're doing it in Tunisia. Now they want to do it in Italy. You know, like in Brazil, I see a bunch of monoculture. In Mexico, I see a bunch of monoculture. We need to go back to the tradition, man. You know, back in the day, you know, say a couple hundred years ago, when they were doing cultivation of cactus, they had the milpa system. They had, you know, corn, squash, beans growing alongside. They had fruit, you know, trees. They had shrubs. They had all types of plants, man. It wasn't just cactus or it wasn't just agave. That's the shit that pisses me off because it's like these systems already have been proven by the native indigenous of various countries to succeed. Why do we need to institute monocultures that destroy lots of stuff? You get me? So I hope Italy does not put a monoculture of this because they're going to get heavy plagues and have all types of fucking issues. And it's less exciting. You know, it's kind of lame to be honest with you. I think there's so much more potential. You know, the whole Mediterranean, all the countries around the Mediterranean Sea have a pretty good, you know, climate. And going a little into Europe, maybe not Scandinavian countries, you know, a lot of them could fucking grow agave. I've seen agave grown in Germany. Like I told you in another podcast that they're making agave spirits in Germany. I know of hobby distillers growing agave and distilling it in Germany. Like, and I know that in the past the government imported agave and tried to mass grow it. So there's in Brazil, lots of abandoned fields full of agave because it's just prospering without anybody even touching it. So there's going to be a resurgence, I believe, in Germany. But, you know, Italy here, these Wakanda people, you know, the company uh, that's trying to grow cactus in Italy, they're also doing some shit I don't approve of, which is they're trying to buy the cactus from farmers and say, okay, commit to growing cactus in these shitty regions that are going down because of olive oil destruction. Grow cactus and we'll buy your plants for 15 years at a guaranteed price. That sounds good on paper, man, but it's like a land lease, you know? Like you get super fucked halfway down the line. It's like, put it this way, say, just for example, I grow a bunch of cactus and I sell to them and I sell it at like, just for the example, $1 a pad. And then my production cost year 4 or 5, right? Triple or quadruple. How am I going to still continue to sell it at $1 a pad and not 4 or 5? You get me? I'll go out of business. So they might force through a contract a lot of people to basically, in my opinion, continue to grow agave unprofitably and unsustainably or cut corners now because they have to stay in the game even though they want to get out, but they really hate this shit, you know? And here's the thing. It's like, um, by forcing these farmers to grow the cactus for 15 years. Like, look at what happened during 2020 to 2024 around the world. All this inflation, prices have doubled, tripled. A lot of things have 50%, you know, gone up in inflated prices. And it's like, so prices ain't steady, man, especially not in today's world. And to think that you want to commit to a decade and a half of guaranteed price or growing cactus, I don't see it panning out for a small Italian farmer. I don't see it panning out for anybody but a big ag guy that can cut corners and grow chemicals and all this BS, which is probably what they want. But that's what I'm saying. I don't want Italy's problems to be the same that other countries are experiencing right now. And, you know, there's a lot of fucking issues with doing that type of model. I believe those type of models are a sharecropper model that take advantage of small farmers, and I hope to not see that shit in Italy. And I hope, you know, I never wish ill on anybody, but in the grand scheme of things, it wouldn't be a bad thing if these guys failed. To be honest with you, but they'll probably inspire lots of people to grow in fucking Italy, so that's why I'm talking about them, right? Like the fact that they're even on my mind is pretty interesting because I just read this article a few days ago. It came out like November 30, and it's December 4th. So uh, it's interesting, you know what I mean? Yeah, or actually not December. It's December 22. My bad. And then the article came out on November 30, so you can find it. But check it out. Essentially, uh, they're also trying to plant 40,000 plants per hectare, which kind of evens out to maybe 10, 15,000 plants per acre. Once again, in a monoculture, if one plant goes down, the whole fucking field is going to get marked like wildfire. I don't think that's a great idea. I don't recommend that. It's pretty dumb. They say he's got about 300 acres planned to be planted by the end of 2025. He's thinking big. Ha! This guy's going to get fucked, man. That's what I predict. But we'll see what happens. You know, might go well for him. uh, what do you call it? They also talked about in this article about how they're producing cactus leather, mainly sourced from Mexico. A lot of brands are trying to seek that, as a source, like Adidas and Toyota. Um, and I actually think this is where it could come in handy for cactus growers in Europe. So LVMH is like the largest fashion brand in the world, right? It's like hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's got one of the richest guys as the owner. That shit's from like France. Adidas is from Germany. You got Puma and let's see, you got who else is up there? You got all these people fucking, in Europe that are the fashion center, So what I'm thinking here is like, what if like, these Italian fashionista people could potentially source cactus leather locally grown in Italy and then sustainably create clothing and all types of purses or whatever their focuses are, right? That would be fucking dope. That might be something that the Italians explore very well there, right? Because they already have a lot of that infrastructure in place, right? So if they could produce the cactus leather, you know, make it happen. I think the farmers definitely need to explore that a little bit more than other options because of it being Italy, you know. The other thing is fucking, you know, in Italy, uh, it's they got a lot of animal production, just like here in California, and it's like, they can use a lot of this cactus for fodder. They can use a lot of this cactus. Italy is a big energy importer, so they can use a lot of this cactus to create biofuels. Use a lot of the prickly pear, much like agave, or in combination with agave to run energy plants. You know, use the agave to create all types of stuff. Like the sisal rope is great for, the winemaking, not the winemaking, the vineyard operations, because you could tie up all the wine grapes with the sisal rope, and it's like if they could produce their own cactus fiber or agave fiber, Italian local, fibers, and then tie up all their grapes and stuff with that. That'd be amazing, because I'm sure a lot of that is metal or coming from other places, right? So they can innovate there. That would be really cool to see, Um, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I think that this has huge potential for Italy and for Europe. This company kind of has like I think 3 dozen investors and stuff, and so people are investing in it. Honestly, people are throwing millions into it. We'll see what happens. It could be a grand failure, but if they do my recommendations, it could be a grand success. Even if they just do a few of them, it could be a great success. So we'll see what happens. It could be interesting. I really definitely this article got me thinking because my brother spent a large time living in Italy, and I know basic Italian because of that, and I've wanted to buy farmland in Italy and stuff for a long time. So shit, if they're going cactus out there, I'm fucking down. Let's hit it. Let's go buy some of those fucking abandoned olive orchards, all these things, right? So lots of exciting stuff, man. Um, what you call it. I wanted to also talk about how basically, um, sorry, you have to drink some water. But I wanted to talk about also how essentially prickly pears could be the perfect alternative for the water scarcity in Italy and the wine glut globally, which, because there's a lot of disease also on the grapes, not only the olives in Italy, they're losing a lot of production. And even with all that disease around the world on grapes, because it's all bullshit monocultures, that shit is still a glut. So imagine how much really the overproduction is. You know what I mean? Because once all they figure out disease, varieties that won't die with the diseases, right? Like if they get a little smart there, and that comes back online, a lot of those wineries, then you're gonna have a lot more fucking glut, right? And California's already talking about, they got around 650,000 acres planted. They're talking about taking 50 to 100,000 acres out. I was hearing uh, a speech from the Grape Grower Association president, and he's like, "We're fucked." I mean, it was a long speech, but that was the summary for you guys. You guys need to just know that he was like, "We're fucked. Start cutting," and people are not harvesting, right? And that's happening in Italy as well. They're just leaving it on the thing. They don't have labor sometimes. It's diseased or it's at no price, right? So here's where I'm getting. Comes in the prickly pear. Say they grow 100 different prickly pears and they have all these different varieties and it's a great polyculture. You could even mix in some fucking grapes and some olive trees in there because you're Italy, right? Well, check it out. They already have all the infrastructure. This is why I've been pitching fucking Napa on this shit for like 3 years, but these guys are chickens, man. And if this shit's already growing on in Italy, like I told you, this Wakanda people got like 300 acres. Shit, that's more than fucking is in California already. We're little bitches compared to that. You know what I mean? I've been trying to pitch so many people on Cactus forever, and I have a couple vineyards. They got a couple acres, as test plots and stuff. And I think the biggest one I've got is a 40-acre under management that was actually an old vineyard. But it's like we don't got the numbers that these fools are thinking about putting up within the next 2 years. You know what I mean? So what I was getting at is that they could substitute the 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 BS wine glut with a prickly pear niche market. And here's the thing. I learned how to make prickly pear wine from an Italian. I literally fucking I messaged this guy on Instagram. So he posted some shit on it. And he's like, yo, watch my YouTube video. It's this dude in Italy literally grabbing shit off the street, prickly pears, and fucking making wine out of it because he makes a bunch of wine. And I was like, this dope, and then I made some and I was like, this is fucking amazing. Um, if you want to buy some, actually, there's a company out of Texas that makes a fucking amazing prickly pear wine. Oh my God. You can also distill it. Nobody's talking about that. Somebody asked me to, or Lou Bank had a podcast where he was talking about let's distill the pads. I don't know about that. I might try it, just to see what's up because I think it's a funny idea. But I wonder what would happen there. Maybe if you ferment it and pickle it or whatever. But yeah, they could just substitute prickly pear into their wine infrastructure. They already have all the winemakers. They have all the wine distribution. They have all the stores that sell wine. They have the wine exporters. They have all of these networks already for wine. So if they bring in prickly pear and they make prickly pear wine, it's a perfect substitute. Italy would blow this shit up globally, and it would be hilarious because it's like something Mexican. You know what I mean? Mexico doesn't want to do this shit. But well, it's because I mean prickly pear wine is not so traditional. I mean Colonche is the prickly pear. What prickly pear is it? I think the Cardone cactus that they use to distill and make Colonche. I've made. See, this is what I thought was Colonche at first, but somebody corrected me actually. I thought Colonche was an agave and cactus prickly pear ferment because I did that and then I distilled it and I was like, this shit's amazing. I thought that was Colonche and that's where I got the recipe because somebody told me that, but they were mistaken. Coloncha is actually just the prickly pear like distill, not combined with agave. But shit, knowing Mexican, the other one probably has some long lost name. So yeah, man, Italy. I just wanted to hop on this podcast real quick and talk about cactus farming in Italy and Europe, and I think it's gonna have great potential. I think it's gonna be blow the fuck up. I hope this guy succeeds. I just hope he doesn't succeed in the way that he's pitching it right now. I mean, he's just starting out, so he's throwing stuff out there. The article could have misquoted him. The article could have fucking missed, represented a lot of his intentions. So who knows, you know what I mean? Like what I'm just getting at is like some of the stuff I read I didn't really like, so I presented an opinion on it. And I hope that, like I said, they avoid a lot of the mishaps going on by planting a monoculture. They put in a polyculture of stuff and they get all types of animal fodder, energy, biofuels, all types of shit. There's so much. Agave and cactus, I believe, will revolutionize the world. That's literally why I make these podcasts, why I made Agave and Cactus Talk. And, I've been pitching lots of people in Mexico to plant polyculture like me here in California. I'm a small farmer just starting out, and I already have dozens of species of cactus. Why the fuck can't these guys with money do it? You know? They just don't want to. So I try to pitch a lot of people on it, but they honestly don't give a fuck because they have their system that they're already generating profit from. So it's like even like I saw a dragon fruit grower farm here in California starting up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got a bunch of dragon fruit," and I'm like, "Plant some opuntias and plant some fucking cereas," and he's like, "Nah, fuck that, I just like dragon fruit," and I'm like, "All right, bro, well," because he knows me as a consultant. I told him, I'm like, "Well, in like 5, 10 years, I hope your shit's not plagued the fuck up and you hit me up to come save your farm, brother. But I recommend to you to plant many more cactus species." And he kind of got butt hurt, but hey, man, if you're getting butt hurt 'cause I'm trying to help you, I'm sorry. That's how life is. Uh, at the end of the day, if you don't want to be my friend because I want you to improve, then fuck you, man. But yeah, getting back to the podcast here. I hope that Italy is the one that blows it up for Europe. I hope that Italy prospers, maybe not this guy, but a bunch of other small farmers, and they make it happen. And then it goes to Greece. It goes to Portugal. It goes to, like, I've shipped cactus to Spain and they ship me cactus. There's a lot of really good cactus growers out there, but these are nurseries, right? All these countries have really crazy nurseries. The nurseries need to coordinate and start being like, farm this shit. It's like the nicest cactus farm I know here, Cactus Warehouse in California. They're looking at it as a nursery. They're not trying to harvest the fruit and shit. They harvest it for the seeds so they could grow more cactus and sell it to people. But if they thought about it as like I do through fruit, and I've actually had a like small convo with them about that, but I'm like, you guys should sell the fruit and stuff, make products and stuff. I think they make so much money from the plants they just don't give a fuck. But it's like that's the thing, man. You don't give a fuck until like you don't give a fuck to diversify until you get fucked. I've been fucked so many times. That's why I diversify. Um, but yeah, I hope that these little small farmers and stuff, all these nurseries around Europe start blowing it up to farmers and trying to sell thousands and thousands of plants to them, and it grows everywhere around Europe. And I would love it to go around global, but you know, yeah, good luck, Italy. And if any Italian cactus farmer friends happen to hear this podcast, hit me up, man. I want to go to Italy and visit your cactus farm. And if you come to America, come visit my cactus farm. And, let's learn from each other. Um, I know lots of people don't like sharing knowledge on agave and cactus outside of Mexico and stuff, but I'm not one of those people. I'm not greedy about it and stuff. I just want to make sure that people use the knowledge in the right way. That's why I don't associate myself with everybody, right? So, hope you learned something today about Italy and cactus and, a couple other things. And, yeah, I hope to see a lot of cool products coming out of Italy soon. Catch you later, and I'll hopefully bring out another podcast soon. If you want to be on the podcast or you got any podcast ideas for what you want me to talk about, feel free to leave a comment wherever the platform is or on Instagram. I'm Farming and Gardening California on Instagram, Agavero Californiano on YouTube and Pinterest. You know, reach out and then we'll talk. You know, I don't care if you're a small or you're a big cactus person or you just got a couple cactus in your house. Let me know what's up, and we'll talk cactus. Uh, the whole point of the podcast is for us to all learn while I research a lot of this stuff for people and while I, learn a lot of this stuff. Um, I end up becoming a better farmer myself and researching more stuff, and it's fun. I think the podcast is fun, to be honest. So come through and, yeah, I'll catch y'all at another time. Listen to some of the other episodes and have a great rest of your day. Peace out, everyone.